Morning. My name is Sierra Barnett. I just want to again thank everyone for joining us this morning, showing up and being here for this really important conversation. I'm seventh generation Tennessean. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I have 3 kids at home. We are a good humming home. Just have to throw that out there because I also lead the Wilson County chapter of Moms Demand Action, which is a grassroots group of volunteers working to protect our children, families, and communities from gun violence. I'm thrilled to be joined by our partners, the Wilson County Retired Teachers Association. All of our teachers are amazing, and will know this. Wilson County Women's Coalition, who are with us today, the NAACP is with us, the Sierra Club, and Cumberland University, of course, for hosting this event. This is a group effort by all of these organizations to bring this important discussion to you all today. I want to take a moment to meet our panelists. Mayor Randall Hutto is here, State Senator Pody, State Representative John Ray Clemmons, Cumberland University Professor Jim Shulman, and Melissa Bryant from Tennessee Bar Bureau Federation. I appreciate all of you. There's so much going on in government and in our community today, and so we could not have answers without all of you here. So I appreciate you taking the time. We're here today to talk about how state policies on education, agriculture, and infrastructure shape our rural community. Even though we're close to Nashville, you all know Wilson County is still quite rural. It's also bursting at the seams, and so this conversation comes at a really pivotal time for us. And I want to acknowledge that there are so many people in this room from various backgrounds. Look around. Some people I don't know, and I've worked really hard to get to know a lot of people in Wilson County, so it makes me thrilled to see each one of you, people I don't know, people I do know, people who have come from Nashville, people who've come from Watertown, to be part of this conversation. I appreciate it. I want to thank the people that submitted questions. For the sake of time, we just won't have time to get to all of the questions. However, the ones we've collected, we will be sharing with our panelists. If they want to follow up with you directly, then we'll have that opportunity. Now more than ever, it's essential that we come together to talk honestly about the issues impacting our communities. While my organization operates nationally, our local chapter is rooted right here in Wilson County, Tennessee. We're focused on the unique ways gun violence affects our state and how we can work together to find common sense solutions that respect both public safety and the Second Amendment. That is why I'm here. Ultimately, that's why we're all here today as neighbors and friends and as Tennesseans to find common ground. Because the issues affecting rural Tennessee that aren't red or blue, you all also know this. And when we come together in community, real change becomes possible. Thank you all for being here and being part of this conversation. This is just the beginning. There will be more. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the moderator, who is the president of the Wilson County Retired Teachers Association, and my friend, Jeff Garrett.
Good morning. We appreciate all of you joining out on this Saturday morning when you could have had a lot of other things to do. I first would like to say that, as Sierra mentioned, I'm the current president of the Wilson County Retired Teachers Association. Prior to my retirement, I spent 34 years working in some facet of public education, including beginning my work as a substitute teacher in middle school, language arts teacher in Wilson County schools. And for the last 17 years, I've spent in public education. I've worked as a field organizer for the Tennessee Education Association, where my duties included making yearly visits to our legislature and holding legislative forums to give our legislators in the 37 different levels I served over the years the chance to speak and share their ideas. From that, we help to help putting this together today. Before we begin, I would like for Jim Shulman to please come forward and share your slideshow about what this is all about.
Thank you. A couple of things. First, I'm very impressed that this many people came out on Saturday morning. This is very, very helpful and very, very good. Second, I've got a very bad cold. And so I'm going to try to get through this. I'm saying it came up yesterday. So I made this presentation that you can see when I had a very bad cold. I had no idea when I put it in the presentation. So there's no telling. So we're going to learn together. I'm not saying we're all right. So here's what I was asked to do, which was a very simple assignment. It was to understand our government in 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes to tell you how our government works. Right? So here goes. So it says understanding our government in 5 minutes. When I was changing the slide before, I was trying to make a different colors. There's a sentence underneath it that says, I don't think I can explain it to you in 5 years. You just can't see that because it's hidden. All right. So, long time ago, in a country far away, long time ago, not too long ago, just over 249 years ago, some of our founding fathers decided they had enough being under the rule of the English. So they gathered together in Philadelphia, and after much debate, passed and signed the Declaration of Independence. Was anybody at the Declaration of Independence signed it? Okay, good. Because that was scary. All right. So our founding fathers, they just got really mad. You know, the Boston Tea Party, the State Bank, all that stuff. They just didn't have enough. And so they were all nuts around Philadelphia, and I think they finally decided. Primarily to urging several people like John Adams and Benjamin Franklin to create a new document, the Declaration of Independence, which we celebrate every July 4th. And they wrote it, Thomas Jefferson wrote it with the help of several other people. And they looked at this and they eventually decided to sign it. And this is what it says. This is what it says in any part. United Declaration of the United States of America. When in the course of human events becomes necessary for one people to go on one event with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth separate each state to which the laws of nature God entitled them, these are respected in the mankind part. They should declare the cost of which impel them of separation. Now, if you haven't studied the Declaration of Independence much, if you go back and watch what they were doing at the time, they had been trying for a long time to get the British attention. They had been actually trying to get to Ukraine attention. The British have been busy with a lot of other things, beating up with French, and they really didn't care much about America. We were doing fine over here. They won't pay much attention. After the British-French War, they needed some money, so all of a sudden the king and the British turned their attention back to us and said, well, they seem to be doing well, let's go tax them. And let's go stand all over them, and we didn't like that. And so this is what you're hearing Jefferson say when he wrote out the Declaration of Independence. The second part, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Who writes like this? I don't want to do this stuff. Nobody said that. Who writes this? Jefferson is like, it is the only authority to be environment. We hold these truths to be self-evident, and all men are created equal. They can never create a certain and rights. That among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, providing their just power for the extent of the government. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people is doing a new government things and they was and organizing his powers successful as to that shall see most likely effect your safety. Exceptionally understand roads. He did do all after this, which I'm going to show you. He said, look, every time you get mad at the government, you don't all of a sudden that you got what's good before the government. So you get very, very careful. But in this case, if you read the Declaration of Independence, how many people read it here? How many people are lying about reading the Declaration? Okay, it's not very long. It's a beautiful thing. And you get to the bottom of it, after you get to the 27 grievances he put in there. I mean, he says, look, we've been trying to get your attention, but nobody's listened to us. it is time for us to do something. So, signed it. John Hancock, he was the big. Did we need to become a free nation after we signed it? No, why not? You don't know. We can't just sign a document and go, hey, you're more free, that's going to be what we wanted. No, we had to go beat the British. And we had to go out and beat them, and we did. Yeah, beat the British. It doesn't have to be beat. I think they finally got down to fighting us, whatever, sleep too long. So we did it, we beat the British. Then what? We formed a new country, what do we do now? How do we come up with something that works? And one of the things that we were concerned about at that time, if you remember, but none of you were there at the time, we just had big down centralized government that had all the controls. Okay, King George tells us what to do. We didn't like that. We just said we don't like that. What are we going to do? What did you see my slides? It's a confederation. That's what we did. Are you a history teacher, government teacher?
Private reading teacher, but also teach history as well.
Okay, I want you to get your question. Alright, so we thought we would do a decentralized model, right? We went through and said, wait a minute, we just got rid of the king and monarchy and all this centralized stuff. So let's do the articles of confederation. It's like 13 separate governments, 13 separate states that are all government. And every so often we would call them in wherever, Philadelphia, whatever, New York, where we would call them together. Then we would say, okay, let's try to figure out what we're supposed to do nationally. Did that work? No. Why not? There was nobody, they didn't really care. They didn't really care about the nation. And so they secretly, they said they were going to work on the Articles of Confederation. I'm almost through. I'm doing 5 minutes of our entire government. Okay. I came up with the Constitution. We sent a bunch of people up there. They did it in secret. All this transparency stuff. All our family farmers did it in secrecy. They did it in secrecy, and they primarily did it as in pubs. They were breaking it. Okay, they came up with the Constitution, the United States Constitution, centralized government, the powers to the states, checks and balances, separation of powers. How many people have read the United States Constitution? Yeah, there's some more people lying in here. Okay, here it is. Actually, see this book? It's got the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Tennessee in it. The Constitution of the United States will take you like 20 minutes to read. It's not very long. Okay, I guess they're getting tired. Or maybe they had like 1,000 word limit or something like that, like in school. But it's not very long. It doesn't take you that long to read it. But that's the law of the land, the Constitution. Executive branch, legislative branch, history. Pursuant to the Constitution, every one of those branches has specific duties. They have checks over each other. That way, one branch can get to the federal government. It was an amazing way of coming out of the government. Okay. And why did we do that separation of powers? Even though we created an executive branch? Because there were a lot of people, a lot of anti-federalists that didn't want a centralized government. Because we had just broken away from a centralized government. We did not want to go back to one entity, the king, that had all that. So we broke away from it. Everyone has a role to play. The role has to be played within the confines of the Constitution. The Supreme Court got involved and started saying, yeah, that's the way it's going to be. And it worked. And it has worked since 1789. We're the oldest functioning democracy in the world, which is something we should be very, very proud of. Okay? The Constitution is the written law of the land. It is the government of the country. You should read it. We have to fix it. 20 times. The first 10 for the Bill of Rights, they came right after the passed. So we've only done it 17 times. 2 of them involved breaking, so right, so 50. All right. Most of the Bill of Rights amendments have had totally like freedom of speech and right to bear arms. Some pretty important ones after that nobody ever talks about. Ninth Amendment, in the Constitution or certain rights, shall not be constricted to desires of disparage others and what he was saying, what Madison was saying in the program was that I don't know what's going to happen in this country. The only certain rights that will show up. I don't even know it at this point. So just because I didn't say it in here, because I don't know what they're going to come. And the 10th Amendment, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by the states or reserved to the states or the people. And that's important. Everything went right from there, right? Wrong. Okay, now I'll tell you this and then I'm going to shut up. Okay, the first President's Congress was called into session. The first examination. We're ready to go. We called everybody to, I think it was in New York. That's where the initial plan was. We called everybody and said, come to, it's all a big country. 65 representatives wasn't show up, 13 showed up. I tell you, I want on the America. Okay. Not having any more leaders until the next time we fight will show up. I think it took them a month to get to the point. So it didn't start well like the very beginning. Did we fight over the beginning of the Constitution? Back then? Yeah. Did we fight over it in the all throughout our history? Yeah. We fighting over it now? Yeah. Okay, so it's really good. Okay, we've been fighting for a long time. Panelists versus the anti-panelists. Maybe you want to start central government against the people who didn't. The North versus the South. That's the one thing we have. Isolation versus internationalism. Democrats versus Republicans fighting in this country for right. And states and cities, states are formulated in the national government. We have 50 states. Tennessee, what number are we? 16, right? And cities and towns pay entities within those states. 16 states, we have 33 state senators, of which Senator Pody is one. We have 99 state house members, of which John Ray Clemmons is one. Most states are similar, they get kind of like small type of entities. Nebraska has to be different. I think it's because the football field is no longer good. And one legislative body, they just have one. Most of them have governor, most of them have court systems. Tennessee has 538 cities and towns and 95 counties. And all of them have their own. And who has the most power? Who has the most power between the federal, state, and local government? Typically, you think the feds do, okay? Because they have all the money. They have all the money and they have the power that the Constitution underlines. So primarily, they have the power. Preemption is a term of shit. That means like if the federal government has no power, they can step on the states and go, we're going to tell you how to do it. Or you can give you money and you can do it the whole thing. Well, that makes the state wrong because that's like, we don't want you telling us what to do, we don't have it. But then the states are ready to go, well, good, those local governments, we have to tell them they can have it. It's like big problem, so give them money, we can tell them how to do it. What we tell them is they can't do it. It's free energy. We get in the way of the local affairs. So it's a power play. It shows up. A lot of times we hear people say, we can't do that because the state doesn't want us. Yeah, that means the state is taking powers. Now, what can you do? Where is the most power really? If you want to get something done, if you want to get something done, I would argue it's with the local companies. Because you can find there, it's easily recognizable to find them. If you've got and something you got a pothole in front of your driveway, and you don't like it, you can probably find him any given day and get it fixed. If you want to call the president of the United States, probably not going to happen. Probably not going to get through. Okay? But you can find their answer to probably where it is. I don't know. Okay? Most likely it's the first thing. And that's why we're explaining. Because we're at a town hall. A town hall meeting where you can talk to us. Let's see if I can understand. Okay? That's my presentation. I'm taking my Constitution and it's in here.
Thanks, Angela. We're about to begin our process here. But first, we want to go over the ground rules. As you came in today, you may have seen the ground rules for this event posted on the walls in the hallway in this room. We also have copies of the ground rules on the table for you. Just a brief review of those ground rules. First was to be right and be prepared on time. Second, having respectful communication. That respectful communication includes listening and respecting others that don't want to speak. Our third guideline, one person speaks at a time. You wait till you have an acknowledgement from the facilitator. You avoid side conversation, which can undermine the process that we have. Our fourth guideline was to stay on topic. We want to make sure that we adhere to the agenda and contribute comments that are relevant under the discussion. And the facilitator has the right to politely steer conversations back on topic if necessary. And also, as panelists, if you feel the need to not answer a question, if you have some, if you feel like you cannot have input on that, you are welcome to say no on that. Here is one of the most important elements that we have on here is that we must use technology responsibly. If you have not already done so, please silence your phones and other many devices that you have at this time. So, out of respect for our participants here today. Number 6 was uphold accountability. Take responsibility for what we say and understand that we may not all agree with what happens here. Finally, is zero tolerance to harassment and discrimination. All attendees have the right to a safe and inclusive space, free from harassment, bullying, or discrimination of any kind. The organization may remove individuals from the meeting for violating this rule, and we will hold that and hold you accountable for that. Just a reminder that to our panelists that once the question had been presented, that you each have 3 minutes to respond. And for each question, up to 3 minutes, and there will be time kept. And so we will have that ready to go. Today, as we begin this effort, we want you to know that there are questions that we asked by our people who submitted those questions, and we as a committee reviewed those questions and placed those in order today. They will be coming to the microphone in front of the stage and asking those questions to you. To make it a little simple, we're just going to start and sit with Senator Pody and work our way in. And on each question, we will rotate who starts first and how we go from there. We have the microphone. That we passed. What I would like for you to do before we begin is to introduce yourself and tell us about your role and what we're going to do.
Good evening, good morning. I want to thank you for hosting this and thank you to outlet entities that put this together. It's important that we have communication. And my name is Senator Pody. I'm right here this district. I represent Wilson County and Mark Davis.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today. So I'm going to talk to this meeting.
Thank you again, everyone who put this together. It takes a lot of work, so I really appreciate all of this to organize this. Our name is John Ray Clemmons, state representative, one of the 89 Tennessee House representatives, and I represent part of Nashville, Tennessee, but I was born and raised here in Lebanon, so proud to be able to move.
I'm Melissa Bryant. I work for Tennessee Farm Bureau. I work for the farm part of the Farm Bureau, and I'm the insurance company. And I spent my career advocating for and educating people about agriculture, and that's what I'm excited to be here to do today.
The insurance part. I'm Tim Shulman. I am a former vice mayor of Nashville County. Member of the Cumberland Council, and now the dean of the Labry School at Cumberland University. It's science, technology, and business, and I think political sciences. And Cumberland, I know, are you all going to read that thing? So you have. So Cumberland is happy to sponsor this. This is good thing that people say, we love having people on the campus. We always try to be very careful about making decisions on anything. All these people out there are my friends. I try to get along with everybody. I try to be just very careful because I like everybody. Typically, we do introduce anybody in elected officials that are here, regular presidency, or might be looking up. He said about council members from nation. He said, did I miss anybody?
That's the one.
A school board member? I said, I was looking at it. I wanted to thank you. Somebody else. Yeah, let's take it up. Very well. Thank you all for being here. This is.
Thank you so much. And again, we appreciate everyone being here today. We're about to begin our question. Our panelists be ready to answer those questions. We're going to begin with that line down and just begin. And today we're going to begin with a question regarding education.
Good morning, my name is Ellen James. I was born and raised in Lebanon. We moved to Columbia, South Carolina, where I was a teacher. I taught middle school and high school English in the private school district of Columbia. And then I got to Indiana, and they referred to the civil wars that recently was in this. I also taught college courses. In fact, I knew that time after I retired, I taught some adjunct here. I'm now in the Wilson County retired teachers. My question is about immigration. This year, Senate Bill 0836 is sponsored by Senator Watson, and House Bill 0793 sponsored by Representative Landon, more commonly known as the Immigration Bill, as introduced, authorizes local education agencies and public charter schools to refuse to enroll students as well as unlawfully present in the United States, and require public schools in Tennessee to check citizenship and immigration status of students. The bill would allow schools either to block enrollment or to charge tuition for students who are in the country without legal status. While the bills stall due to physical concerns, they're expected to resurface when the legislature reconvenes in January. What is your stance regarding the immigration bill? It's one reason.
That's a great question, thank you. And it did come to my plate. And it passed through a meeting, it passed in the Senate and stalled in the House. However, I am one that did not believe that we should be denying education for the children, whether they're in Europe. We put in local school boards in position local schools to determine immigration and so forth, and that was an option. But I think that no matter what, we need educated people in our nation. And however their status is, if we don't give them the education, I believe we would be forcing them into a different lifestyle of underground or in crime. So I think it was best into this process.
So from the county's perspective, this is kind of the ground of it. Wilson County government, county commissioners, we fund the school system. But we make it over, we have school board members here today. They're elected by you, and so they make a decision for the school board, along with the school superintendent. So we will support what the school board decide to do. But when we get their budget, to pass it up or down, we're going to have an opportunity to say, well, we don't like what you're doing here, we would like it for this school, so we're not going to pass it, but that's not logical for us. So this is leave it here.
Yes, very much. Thank you very much for that. And I obviously made my opinion now pretty openly in committee that they came through. And I don't want to harm Senator Pody here. I agree with Senator Pody. At the very core, we can have a debate about the special growth immigration system, but what we're talking about here is children. And the single best source of opportunity for every child in this country and in this state is public education. And you continue to make attack after attack on our public education system, and it does nothing but undermine the future prosperity and the quality of life of our fellow citizens. If you want to plateau the prosperity of this state, start thinking about education. And this, one step out of it, start thinking about the children. And that is honest.
Okay, so this one actually deals with education. I'm gonna throw a little bit of agriculture into the immigration debate, because I think this is my one shot to do that. But I do want people to think about who works on farms in the state of Tennessee and in this country. And we have got to have a guest worker program. We've got to have folks that are willing to do the hard, heavy labor. Farmers do that every day, but we don't have the labor to pick the crops to do farming. Crops now are actually harvested by guest workers from South Africa who operate with combines because there are not American workers who are willing to fill those jobs. We advertise those jobs, we're required to advertise those jobs. We use the H2A program. But I do want you to remember how important those farm workers are to ag and to our food system.
But I'll be quick. Obviously now I'm a teacher, an educator at Cumberland University. Before I was a governor official, I was but I think I agree with folks that school, when I was growing up and when I was getting government boards, it was sort of regular. That's why we have it, and that's why it's such an important component of what we do in this country. It gives children, gives everyone a chance. And in many ways, that's what this country was said. When I first got into public office, I ran education. Education, public education is the number one priority of system. And I would believe that about public safety, I would, if you can't keep more kids safe, then we've got a problem. But education is right there at the top. In the end, is the great equalizer. What I would say, and this is me talking on Cumberland, but I've always loved that we need to solve the immigration problem. And it needs to be solved at a much higher level. It's a national issue, it's a federal issue. It's going to be fought at the local or state level. It's a national issue. And they can address it, they just have to roll and fix it. But they need to leave the children out of it. These children are just trying to make it. They're not involved in the code, they're here. We need to give them a chance.
And this time, we'll start with Mayor Hutto, as we rotate our beginnings here. We will now have a topic regarding transportation.
We want to hear and senior tax manager, also the first chair of the Wilson County University. Middle Tennessee, in particular, in Wilson County, is one of the fastest growing areas in the state. The traffic and investment. Fortunately, Union Charter from that, 11 miles, a gallon, staying Hermitage, downtown. Watertown also recently received a $1.6 million grant for about 2,000 feet of new railroad track in Taunton. This week, Governor Lee announced plans for a Tesla-only underground tunnel from downtown Nashville to the airport, raising the question, why wasn't our existing rail infrastructure considered? My question is to the panel, what are your thoughts on the governor's proposed tunnel, and how do you propose we support those of the various reasons we have on the both sides of public transportation?
Transportation is definitely an issue within the region. As you look across the sea, and happen to distribute the chair at this particular time, but the region transit authority, so we all work together once a month. We meet down there and talk about different issues. When you think about the Houston City Star, it actually got here because a long time ago, they were looking for a rail. Rail is the only transportation railway in the state of Tennessee. You have a streetcar in Memphis and Incline and Chattanooga, but it is the only one that exists. And it exists largely because of the National Eastern Railroad said, hey, we'll let you run transportation in the morning and in the afternoon, stay off during the day. The CSX did not allow them to happen in the other areas. So we have a train that comes out here, the other corridors allow buses to go. We carry more transportation over transit flows, given that those in the region right now on Star. We just did a study that's recently on the Star, which is going to, has a process to it. We're able to allow more transportation on the weekend, Saturday service, Sunday service, specialized service. Also take 2 road trips right now. I only have 3 minutes, so it makes it tough, but the federal government came not long ago and said, hey, unless you got possible train control on the train, you're gonna be limited what you can do. So they limited us to 12 trips. It's 3 trips down in the morning, 3 trips back, 3 trips in the afternoon, 3 trips back. So that's our 12. And that's what happens with flying in the train again. They're gonna make 2 of those trips have no passengers on, supposedly add a non-time train, which we think is important. Now, with that, also a micro transit bus that maybe could go during the middle of the day, to pick people up at the stations to go ride the train down in the morning, and catch the bus back at lunch, or ride the buses down at lunch, and ride the train back and that's on there as well as a micro transit van that would be at the station, so that you ride actually, which we were hoping for, that you go to work, you shop like that. This ticket goes about 860,000 for each entity, rather than not to and their county. So how we fund that probably will have to go to referendum at some point. The legislature did pass an opportunity for us to pass a tax, but if we didn't pass any of those taxes, but we will tax and never pay deal, we would have to put that out in referendum. So the STAR study is being done.
You asked a loaded question, like this, and you get 3 minutes. So yes, expectations of quality of life issue. I represent advisors of people who are, things that we have to do on I-24, you know exactly what that helps, so I can say. I know that we're from London on 40, and international bad, the 24, so I know about it. And it affects the quality of life of people in every single day. The tunnel is not going to fix that. And what we propose as innovative is nothing more than using century-old technology and putting a private taxi service underground. It's just one step up from using a horse and buggy in an underground tunnel. That's it, with no regulation, no oversight, no price control, and profitability and perpetuity. With no oversight to limit it's like a limit transportation, traffic, and any way of the citizens. We must accept that. Again, it's one of those key components that all of our people need to be able to move around. If you need to work on time, get home, get your kids ball game on time, get to church on time. These things matter, and in our state, it requires investment. I worked for Representative Clemmons in U.S. Congress right out of college, and he was the one who really was the impetus behind the UCC Star. And then recall, it's a star because it's supposed to have 5 legs. And so, unfortunately, we're still stuck on only one. But thanks to leaders like Mayor Hutto and others who are willing to have the courage to step up and lead on this issue and make investments in that lake, the people of Wilson County and Tennessee are going to benefit from that. We need to do that regionally. We need to see investment in real solutions, real innovation in transportation infrastructure for the benefit of everybody.
I was actually going to say, I think it was a great idea. We want to tunnel for our tractors, right? Think out of your way, right? So transportation is so important to agriculture, and I'm not going to address the using city star and those things, but I want you to think about how commodities are moved in the United States and in the world. We need rivers to remain navigable. We need interstates. We need trailer trucks. We need trains. We need all of the things in your local area though. And one of the things you can do on those roads is kind of slow down behind your neighboring partners as they travel those roads, because those accidents happen a lot. But transportation is very important to agriculture because we do have to move the commodities that we grow.
Speed up. No, okay. All right, well, because I'm not in the elected office anymore, so obviously, I lived around the issue of the need for transit for many years. It is still there, so we need more transit. We need more options. We need a better system. When this tunnel was announced, it's like, okay, Well, let me take a step back. When I was in office, I used to look, and I think John Ray Buckland says that's what everybody does in the area. You know, when you're driving around in your car, you want like, oh, these things. What are the different options to fix it? And I don't consider myself a nerd, like studying wise, but I would look at different options, and I would think at things in different countries and other places that don't have to be English. And typically it would be, well, people use it and how much is it going to cost? So I'm not looking at any options. And when I don't know much about it, I don't know what I'm involved in discussions. I've read things and I've watched the news articles. Look, and also concern, and the media concerns are environmental, safety concerns, that kind of thing. So that's kind of be marks that shut down. And I know there's a ton of thinking in Las Vegas, so we have to go. I mean, I'm hanging in Las Vegas. But people need to check on this. But I'm not willing so quickly just because maybe my wife was proposing it, you know. And you know, part of being a reason here is that I thought we tried to maintain really good civil relationships with the state and the city. That was really hard. I want to work together, we have to work together to solve this issue, but we're not going to get anything. So I guess an answer to the question all the time is, look, safety doesn't work, education. And if it doesn't cost us anything, and again, there's lots of questions, I think a lot of the questions are legitimate. But so we can build a funnel, and it's not going to cost us anything, and it's going to solve part of our transit problem. Then maybe we should look at it and instead of just blow up. We haven't even, I don't think that deal with money in check. And we're already fighting about it. We're going to stop fighting and actually see if these things work. That's my, I want to solve issues. I don't want to yell at each other and go, we're not going to do it with one weekend. Just simple.
I'm going to hang around, okay? Transportation, there's only certain things that government's supposed to do. Transportation is one of them. We are way behind funding of transportation. I proposed $1 billion increase to our transportation fund from the state and city. I've done that almost every single year for the last 5 years. Even with that, it's going to take us a long time to get caught up on our transportation. I want to go back to what you mentioned about the tunnel. There could be better ways. It could be sky lines or overhead. It could be a different way to be stopped. But here's the thing. I have not found any other person that's coming in to say, I will invest a lot of money to do this. Where it's not taxpayer money. And if he feels that it's going to be best to go that way, and he can make a profit on it, and it's going to help clear our roads and not cost anything, I'm not against it. But I was a little bit concerned, and I still am, on the process. I represent the union. And I was not kept up on what was going on with this until the government came. I want to make sure that it's an environmental setting. There's water. We got limestone, we got seaboards. I want to make sure the state's not going to be stuck with something that this fails. I want to make sure that our infrastructure is going to be sound. Now, I'm already meeting with the Warren Company. I've already called transportation. I've already let the governor's office. I was not thrilled with the penalty got to go anywhere. But if I have to say, am I thrilled with the light check as long as it works with it? I'm very thrilled. I'm very happy because if it helps us with our, we're Wilson County, we're going that way, we're going to go right. I think it helps us take the Uber drivers off the road from the airport to downtown. That's going to make it easier for all of us. There's supposed to be more lanes put on, we don't know what those lanes may or may not look like. That may help with some stuff. We don't know what that'll be. This is one. But for some reason, I think say I'm going to give up $1 billion to help that single transportation. I'm not opposed to that. Let's just make sure it's done on the road.
Thank you. This question will be about land trust and development. And Representative, Planning Committees and answer them.
I thank you all for being here today. My name is Laura Warren, and I am a financial planner here in Seattle and in transplanted Wilson County about 10 years ago. So, I have fallen in love with our area and just so you know, I'm a former English teacher here for math, but they were on the screen and the board of it's more, so I just want to know really. So, I know people like myself who lived in Wilson County for all we love about our community. Thank you veterans about open spaces, our beautiful farmland, for myself and my clients who are landowners. And the context of this question comes from my clients who are farm landowners here in our county and who are well holders have started asking questions like, what else can we do better than have our lands passed down to the next generation? It's actually useful to the developers. So that question is coming from citizens and all my clients from Wilson County. I had to do building research because I really thought living resources about land trust and conservation and the county environment. So I learned about one of these initiatives about conservation for the state of the land trust. My questions are, can you help me understand more about legal land trust and conservation efforts in Wilson County? What local zone measures are in place and how to ensure we will still have rural spaces that we love now as we grow? And what concerns do you have personally about where it's the resources?
Thank you for the question. That's very good. Knowledge of growth and these folks on the local zoning issues and some of the social issue. But I will say this, that we are at the state of the Belmont Acre losing per day instead of the state. This is a real big deal. My sister and several of them, they are from the biggest one we go to the city where they see land that they would like to chase. Like $1 billion every single year in building. I heard the laws across the states has some very same concerns that they have worked their entire life. You know, they've inherited this along with their parents, they've kept on, and they don't think their kids are going to do the same thing. They don't think they're going to afford it. They don't think they don't do. And so that's a real issue. So now that I think some of their ads, is somebody going to take over that agricultural kind of operation. I think that all of us is we have an incentive. We should be prioritizing this to protect that. Locally grown food, locally grown agriculture industry is something that we should pride ourselves on. Wilson County American and public goods is something that's celebrated this engineering industry as it should. And we need to do more to protect family farms. There are multiple policies that we can pass aside from just appropriating funds to set up land trust and the like. And we should be taking a look at all of this because right now, you know, when we're looking at having an import of local property, whether it's out of state or out of the country, that puts us in a real precarious situation on the most nationally and locally. So this is something that we should all take a look at. So I'm proud of it across the aisle, and so we're going to get our government on to try to protect this farmland.
Yeah, I don't agree with any of that anymore, that was well said. The land trust and the farmland preservation bill that the legislature just passed and the governor just signed, is an important piece of that. And it will provide funds for people who already have an arrangement with land trusts to take on some of those costs that surveying and things like that to getting that land into the land trust. But I do want to caution everyone again, agriculture and that land, if that's kind of from generation to generation, isn't even the fox goes in these law and things like that. Yes, we want to preserve farmland and the farmers in this county need to preserve that farmland more than any because they own it, they grow their food on it, they raise their families on it. But at some point, you get to the point where if the next generation can't farm it, what are we going to do with that? So we need to maybe make some arrangements between farmers. We need to make it financially beneficial for farmers to pass their land to other farmers who aren't members of their family land. We need to do capital gains tax benefits for folks who pass this or who sell their land from one farm family to another. There are things that are in works on the federal level and the state level both. But I just want to remind you that the farmer owns that land, and the very reason we moved here for that view and all of that is sometimes the very reason that farmer can continue to farm anymore, because we are losing land if they say 20 acres an hour in the state of Tennessee or something like that. And that's a real number. That's like 237 acres a day is lost to development. And that's a real problem.
So obviously, I'm not going to county, but I think it was the county. Quite a big land here is beautiful. And the concern here, I would say, is that the health of share almost had enough of the there's a couple of lots left that they haven't touched yet. But once they get approved, they're going to look elsewhere and you're next. What I tried to tell, but I tried to encourage council members in Nashville was to be proactive. Do not raise, get ahead of it. And all that simply means is that if you like what you've got, you need to check it out. If you like this zoning, great. If you're going to check what it means. A lot of people have zoning, they just build a house or stuff like that. And then what typically happens is this development will get off a lot and either want to change it or be able to do stuff that you never even thought was possible. So the idea is to go away until it's about or, and then there are also developers. There are also developers that want to make lots of money, I mean, they buy enough and they change to make sure. And you're going to have to do that in some people that think so, maybe, you can say that they particularly the northwest part of Davidson County and the area of culture. That area is beautiful. It is so great and undeveloped. And if they don't take steps to protect it, that's the last remaining area, last remaining area that the development can get a hold of, and they'll already live. So one step would be proactive, to not wait for it to get it, to take care of. There are different zoning options that nationals come up with. Find out what your zoning options are. Even if it's to say you can put a house in, but it can't be 800,000 square feet. Do what you can. Do what you can. I would also say use your local representatives, your local city officials, because they're involved in this. They can have to be involved. And if they're not going to call meetings on it, you call meetings on it and find another meeting. Because this is an extremely important. And I'll get into one last story here. I'm trying to keep the names bad. So, and so when you're driving down the street, so you can see how much you watch. They did something right, and then we drive past it. She goes, in Nashville, the number of houses behind houses. So the house is on the bed, on the main street, look very nice. But they could build a house behind that house because they want to make more money. There were things that just helped them. But the people are just.
That's a great question. Wilson County and North Century Farms, I think any other county in the state does. Our hardworking farmers out there, they got the passion for what they're doing. They know they can sell their land and make more money, but what they're doing, they have a passion for it. They probably got the offer of putting it into a land trust program. There was a deal and didn't pass, but I said, we want to take $25 million of taxpayer money and help us integrate that into these land trusts. I'm always uncomfortable when I take into an entity that I don't know what we can or can't do with each other. I'm all for giving them their options and helping with tax incentives and such, but it's really uncomfortable for me to take your taxpayer money to do it for somebody else. And try to watch them everywhere we can. So That bill didn't pass. I would rather see a bill that had more incentives or things that would help our farmers get. We're going to keep developing here in Wilson County. It's a common. I can tell you that I'm also looking at the fact that the state wanted new parks this year. And I think that that is bipartisan. There's a lot of things that can. John Ray, he does a great job. He represents a different area than I do. But on so many issues, we're exactly together saying, we want these things to move forward together for better, for all for our kids. And farming is our number one business in Tennessee. So standing up for that, we want to do. But Jeff, I had a previous commitment that said 11 o'clock, I'm going to have I want to tell everybody here, this is important, this is valuable, and I want your voices to be heard. Whether we agree or disagree on any individual issue, we're all going to have our own opinions. But the fact that we want to move together for Tennessee, that's going to help us. Thank you all. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Not well educated on the land trust, issue, we also can give you, what I think is a good one. Well, we believe in, so the public is around, we'll sit in arms, anybody else in the state of Tennessee. When you think about it, heritage. Rich Berry here in Wilson County. The city she was talking about all of her, I brought that number in 1997 and 2017. 55,601 acres converted that year from agricultural to residential. That's 152 acres a day, 6.3 acres per hour. In 2017 alone, that changed from 86,586 acres a year, 237 acres a day, and 9.86 acres per hour. So that is definitely alarming for us. When we look at Wilson County, when you think about two things came before the county commission. Law, I've been known friends from Tucker Cross over here fought hard to save that industrial area out at Tucker Cross, and they failed. And then we had one most recently on 840 there. One of the portions were okay, but the other was going across the line, and they shut that one down too. So both of those were there. So I think people are aware that this county commission had heard and said, hey, look, we want to slow that down. And so they said, hey, instead of one house for 1 acre, we put one house for 2 acres. They considered maybe doing more at some time. So that push has been there. They're trying to preserve this. We still have 69% of Wilson County open space, 24% is residential. We want to keep that part. We'd like to have the best of all worlds. We think Watertown is Mayberry, Lebanon is the hometown of chance of place you can live and get in and out of the national break. But the rest of our area, we would love to keep it preserved like it is. But as this voting is going down, when you own the farm, I can't do anything about it. If you want to sell it, I can't tell you can't sell it. What we hope is that we have more people like the deals with people that say, hey, let's keep this farm available. Let's keep it in good use, or we can make this place continue to be not a place that's overrun by people. Wilson County, fastest growing county in the state of Tennessee from 2020 to 2024. People want to come because of budget. So if you don't stop those people from coming, the only way you can do that is raise taxes. If you want to raise taxes, so you have a great educational system, which they're going to come. So we just have to plan. We have a landing spring that's being worked on right now. We have fought back and forth about what can we preserve, and that's it's a good fight. We're trying to make a balance here, but it is just a vision. It's no control of the people that own the farm. So we have an area that we believe that we want to preserve, we're going to continue to preserve that, how it's doing, there's not what people are. You know, I just know.
Our next question will be regarding plantation extension.
Good morning, my name is Terry Pfeiffer, and I am a longtime resident of Wilson County and a part of Wilson County Schools myself. Parent of 3 current and former Wilson County School students, former teacher, and member of the local school board. My question is about the challenges we face with teacher retention. Tennessee's public school system serves over 1 million students across more than 140 school districts. Recruiting teachers for this vast network is a constant endeavor. With fewer young people pursuing teacher education programs in college today and engaging overall teacher population, the state has faced persistent teacher recruitment and retention shortages for the past several years, particularly in high-need subjects such as mathematics, advanced sciences, special ed, and English as a second language. Rural districts often incur greater challenges in attracting candidates, stemming from geographic isolation and limited resources. In what ways can the state and county governments, as was pointed out earlier on our Hutto, the local school system does not have taxing authority, they are funded and primarily funded by the state and local governments. So in what ways can they support Wilson County Schools, Clemmons Special School District, and other rural districts in achieving their recruitment and retention goals? And what do you see as the optimal means for funding each of this investment?
No, you want my time, because you.
You know, again, I'm not elected anymore because I have, I've been over a couple of years, for 11 years, high school, college. But these kids are coming in from out of day, an idea of what they're learning, what they're not learning, what are the roles. And so I go into the classroom and, my first class, and I'm like, okay, these kids that are coming are so excited to be called, and they're gonna be just, they're all gonna know all this stuff about government, and they're gonna be really talk about and after about the first 20 minutes, it's like, well, I gotta go back. I gotta go back to the basics, which is what I was showing you before. Because they don't know. The kids don't know. And that's not for lack of teaching, they just think they're, sometimes some of these kids are just scared. We don't want that, we want them to learn and be engaged. And then I start trying to teach, and I'm trying all these different things. And then I get frustrated because they're not listening and learning, can't sleep all the day. And it's obviously it's not needed, so it's just needing to excite about teaching. And so you begin to look at it and it's frustrating. And so then you go like, okay, how do other people lead this profession? Because it's a very, very one. And then you start thinking, okay, so I've got college kids, high school kids. But these kids are a little older. And then you start thinking, really, teachers don't get paid. They not get paid for the work. And so that has to go up. And then you start going like, okay, so it's a lot of money, we won't get that. I don't think we're all going, majority of this should go to teaching and the resources in the classroom. And so that's what I'm going to recommend. Because these individuals who are trying to make us understand that. And again, for any of the teachers out there, again, I've got college students that are all so different. So many long and you're only one person trying to figure out how to make this work for everybody. The person in the back is not listening at all, and you've got to take the class. How do you deal with that? So a lot of emphasis on teachers, working conditions, that we're dealing with different world, serious and resources. I have better sense of view about
Ms. Lofton, thank you for your service on the school board, for Sentor. had to do the Haiti, they respected it down, but the Haiti's back in that one, just to, and they appreciate it. And I think, that I know we have two school board members who are here today. Here we have a former school board member, Ms. Linda Archie, that is here as well. They do a tremendous job of pushing hard for our schools. They have worked, we've built 12 schools in the last 12 years here, so it's been tremendous growth. But the attention that's been brought to teacher professionalism, I think that has been across the country. Shortage has been there, not only just in Wilson County, but around the globe. To go to make sure that our teachers are more respected, that day has been one of times. A lot of other stuff that teaching directly. I'm a former educator. I was taught 18 years at London High School, and 8 years at London Special School District. I was there. So I understand that role. But Wilson County, if you remember, very violence has never passed its tax in itself. And just recently, because of respect for teachers, passed and raised the sales deduction. I'm going too far, I'm going to 75, because that money went strictly to teacher salary. Jeff Lutzler, the superintendent, and the school board today have made a goal over the last 3 years to raise, getting teacher salary from $50,000, and they have continued with that with their own funds. When we talk about funding, you know, every year what the county commission has done is said, school board, give us your own budget, okay? We're gonna give you your growth of money, we give the other departments their growth of money. And then if there's a need to raise taxes, then they talk about that afterwards. They work within their budget and continue to address the pay all for teachers, but also for the government side, and bus drivers, and cafeteria workers. So they're working hard at that. You know, I think another thing too that is showing respect for teachers is, I guess, last week, we met every day we went to school, and everyone, the rest of it did too, and held signs for teachers walking in that says, we love our teachers. I never had it back when I was in school system. I mean, it's, so there is a craving to make that a more knowledgeable profession. Definitely pay is, needs to be addressed. But I can tell you, I think for most teachers, they don't get anything to make them get it. They get in to make a difference in the child's life, and their paycheck really comes when they see that child later on in Walmart, Kroger, or even in the profession. Or maybe even later on when that person calls them up and says, hey, I'm having a tough time, can you help me? That is really more than pay for teachers, in my opinion. I know they won't complain, no pressure, they're not going to get any of the money. And that needs to be addressed, but their motion, their value, is way beyond the monetary benefits here in our county.
I will tell you about part of our town, which our state still says in agriculture, and commerce, and agriculture is at the top, so that's relevant for the last question. With teacher retention, I think the whole conversation starts and ends with respect. When I was raised here in Wilson County, not teachers. And right now, the state of Tennessee is not respecting public education or teachers. You know, I speak a lot of colleagues that come to the state capitol, they return, and they go advice. And I ask them, you know, what's the point of being teachers, or why do they want to teach? Not one of them says to get rich. It is to make a difference, just like Mary said, to make a difference in people's lives, because they had, luckily, some teacher that had a positive impact on their life. It was a positive role model to them, and they want to return, they want to pay that. So, unfortunately, in the state of Tennessee, our teachers make less on average statewide than they did in 2013. When you account for inflation. That's shameful. Now, what is that? That's a direct result of the state of Tennessee not prioritizing public education and the teachers who get up every day. And that we put so much on, we expect our teachers to solve every problem our child has, we send them in that classroom. And that's unfair. And we don't respect the teachers enough, and we're not investing enough in public education, not just the teachers, but the diversity system, and picking up some of this financial arguments that are picked up by your local officials. And there's a reason property taxes for proposals are going up statewide. It's because the state has failed to do its job. Now, we can do better. There are other ways to address teacher retention. Look, if you're a teacher, and you're looking to go raise a family or start a family somewhere in, let's say, Carroll County, Tennessee, is there a hospital there? No, there's all the rural hospitals in Tennessee. We've had 22 hospital closures in the state of Tennessee. If you want to teach in Nashville, we can pay our teachers tremendous amounts of money, as we should,
but it's because they can't afford them nationally. So they're having to drive in every day, but we're not investing in the traffic congestion and the transportation infrastructure. So there's a lot of interest in this question, and there's a lot of ways that we can help solve this. And it's really a 360-degree problem, but it starts and ends with respect for the teachers.
Our next topic is federal infrastructure investments. All right, Shulman.
Hi there, my name's Ryan Conley. I publish a podcast called The Renewal Decision. And my question today has to do with the federal investments. The infrastructure investment in jobs on our local and area investing plan provided tens of millions of dollars to the county for investment in infrastructure. Please tell us what projects that have been paid for, and is there anything left to do?
I know that we spent a lot of money, actually, it's. A process that goes through, I think we spent it. The one thing I didn't mention is that one of the things that I always think of is accountability, is what's it comes down to making sure that everybody understands what is being reached for and then what's going on. But I'll pass it on because you want to understand.
Good question. We had 28,997,226 votes. I can't tell you where it went. We're three in Station 10 and Station 3 in Jaguar Station, $1.7 million. We did a communication system with the Sheriff's Office in Movement for $3,393,000. We did decision worker pay, that was totally paid back in the time for workers, that was $3.2 million and some change. The Water and Wastewater Authority, and just for that conversation, Wilson County Water and Wastewater Authority is a lot like Wilson County, York County, really have nothing to do with me, they have no tax dollars, but they don't have a name. So that is one Water Authority, Lake Utility District, Aurora, and West Wilson. We gave those funds to those people for funds distributed to us. Wilson County Water and Wastewater Authority got $5 million. Lake Utility District got $3.5 million. Aurora got $2.7 million. And West Wilson Utility should get $1.5 million. We bought 3 new ambulances, one for Lebanon, for Watertown, and for Nigeria at $968,000. Self-insured fund, those funds that were allowed to go back into there to cover the COVID claims that came through, that was $1.8 million. We funded a HVAC system in the courthouse, $1.4 million. Broadband to expand the broadband to the rural area, DTC got $800,000. Broadband down in communication with the city Labry, got $1.5 million. The health department got $200,000, and we might have CPR devices in each part of the schools for $154,000. So that's $228 million for this later. So with that, all of that is government, the water districts, utility districts, they continue to report out any visit. One person and one question was going out by weekly, by monthly to us, the rest of them were out monthly came into this, it was $5 million, $8 million to each one utility district, and $500,000 to the stormwater, new infrastructure, we put out those, and so those projects got spent was $5 million.